Hello, everyone. On this very, very special Coach's Corner, very excited to do this. This is going to be amazing as always. And what's so special about it, you notice we have a very festive background. Lou has her amazing blazer on. Alicia is festive as well. Paul's festive. I may have went overboard. I just wanted some candy canes, so I put that on the background. But what's so special about this? Well, actually, let me introduce myself. I'm Jamel Matias. I'm a certified Proctor Gallagher consultant, Bob Proctor coach. My Instagram is Believe in the Unseen. Believing in your goals, believing in your future self, believing in yourself. And I'm excited about today. So I'll pass it on to my amazing person with the awesome blazer on that I really like, Lou.
Well, thank you, everyone. Welcome, everybody. We're all very excited for this lesson today because, again, each lesson builds upon one another. And I know this one was another game changer for me. So, my name is Lou Perica. I am a success mindset mentor. And what I do is I work with growth minded women who feel frustrated with the hustle and grind, of success. And what I do is I show them a different approach so they can be, do, and have better and more. Alicia?
Oh, hi. My name is Alicia Espinosa. I am in Sweden, and I am a values and mindset coach, and I help people who has everything. You know, you have a career and everything what you want, but still find yourself not so fulfilled in your life. And I help you create a life that feels good on the inside, not just good look on the outside, and follow your values and working with your mindset. Yes. Paul.
Thank you, Alicia. I'm so happy to be here with my colleagues from Proctor Gallagher as consultants and mindset success coaches and mentors. And I help individuals achieve their most elusive personal and professional goals, and consider myself as I said, a mindset success mentor and personal development, personal growth teacher. And super excited to be here. And as Lou said, all these lessons build upon one another, and they're just each one. It's so exciting to delve into each one, and I'm really looking forward to the discussion for today. And I'm going to hand it back over to Jamel.
I was thinking before this particular, and thanks, Paul, and thanks, everyone. I'm so grateful to be here, to share this beautiful material with all our viewers. And I was thinking how special today is, celebrating a spiritual holiday, right? But it doesn't matter what religious background you're from, we all have these gifts and we all can connect to spirit energy, but also the unseen. And what we're talking about today, it gets me excited because we're talking about, like Lou mentioned, our mental faculties. And I always like to refer to them as well as our superpowers as human beings, because, you know, I'm a big like Marvel and DC, and I like superheroes. And to see, our gifts that been there and we all have them for free. We didn't have to pay for them. We've been giving them, and to understand them, you become your own superhero, or you know, whatever you want to be. So it's amazing how they connect the two. This very special celebration, but also we're talking about our elements that connect us to that, right? That energy. So I'm gonna kick things off. Let's jump into, and before I jump in, make sure for those that are tuning in, don't be a stranger. Don't be afraid to put a comment, drop a question. We're all friendly. We all want to help you. You have a great bunch here. And we're learning with this material as well. We're human beings as well, but we definitely want to help you. So feel free to drop a comment or a question of anything that speaks to you. And of course, if this really resonates to you, all of our call links are available to talk to us, even on holidays. That's why we're here for you, not just to share information, but to have you apply it and learn it and have it into your subconscious mind and for you to get the results that you want. So let's hop on the first question. Um, you know, which of the 6 mental faculties? First, I think it'd be great to kind of explain, mental faculties. There's 4 of us here. Let me see if I'm doing my math right. 2, 4, 6, 8. I'll just share one.
We'll add a couple.
I'll share one mental faculty. The imagination. That's one of them. And whoever wants to do 2 can do 2. The imagination is one of my favorites. Everything's created twice, once in the unseen and then in the seen, right? So the imagination, I think that is a very powerful one. And we'll kind of talk about each of them as well, if that's okay, everybody.
Sure.
So Alicia, would you like to share another mental faculty?
Reasoning is a very good one. It's very important. We are going to talk more about that. So reasoning is a very good one. Yeah.
Okay.
Paul?
I think perception is one, and perception allows us to reframe situations so that we see opportunities where we might normally see obstacles. So perception is really, really critical, and we have to learn to open our minds. But we're going to get into it a bit more, but perception is one of our mental faculties. Lou, do you have one?
Yes. So the will. Now, many times this gets confused with willpower. Okay, so willpower is like a force, and willpower is short-lived, and it feels like so much effort, willpower. But when you understand the will, it really is our ability to focus our attention on one thing. And typically in this group, we're talking about the goals, the life that you want to live. So being able to direct your attention on that of which you want is truly, truly powerful. And understanding nowadays with social media and all the noise, our attention and our focus is really being out from underneath our noses. So this is really a vital, vital tool for us.
Yeah. And one comes to mind, intuition, where you're receiving ideas, thoughts. Thoughts just don't come from anywhere, whatever you believe in, spirit, infinite intelligence, God, it's basically being guided, but also getting these grand ideas about yourself and where you're going. And also just receiving information that you may not have been aware of before. So I think we have one more, right?
Yeah, we have the memory. And as Bob said, we don't have bad memory. We have only untrained memory. So we are going to talk about, but I think that we need to discuss a little bit first that last week we talked about that we get the information through our sense, but we have these mental faculties or tools that we have that using those tools, and it's like magic, but we all have those tools, and it is like a muscle in us that we need also to train all the time. It's like the muscle that we have in our body. We go to the gym and we do the exercise, the workouts, but here is also you need to train your mind to do the workout. So yeah.
Yeah, you opened a big can there, Alicia. We if you missed last Sunday's, go back and watch that replay because we talked about the stick man, right? and we talked about the sensory factors, how we can see, hear, smell, taste, and touch. And Alicia is kind of referring to that because this is how we interact with our environment. And we kind of been conditioned to live our lives that way, especially from birth on up. Now, what we're talking about today is not these, right? These are, in a sense, I wouldn't call them higher, but they are mental faculties. So meaning, perception, will, imagination, reason, memory, and perception. Oh, did I say perception twice? So maybe,
Intuition. Yeah.
intuition. There you go. Thank you, Lou. See, I told you we have a great bunch here. So, what these mental faculties do, they allow us to tap into a higher sense, in my opinion, because this is, animals can do this, right? They can see, they can hear, they can smell, they can taste and touch, right? But there's a beautiful thing that comes to mind. Remember the image of the cat that looks in the mirror
Mhm.
and sees a lion, right? So I don't know if cats do that per se, but we have the ability to do that, right? And see ourselves at a higher version. So thanks, Alicia, for bringing that up to kind of clarify the difference between the two. That's so important. So with that in mind, which of the 6 mental faculties do you rely on the most in your daily life? And which one do you believe you need to develop further to reach your next level of success? Anybody like to jump at that one?
Sure, I'll jump in there, Jamel, and thank you very much. And I would say that, each of the faculties play a real crucial role in shaping our experiences and our decisions. But the one I think is most critical for me, or that resonates the most, is the imagination. Because imagination is the key for creative problem solving and envisioning our goals and strategizing our goals. It helps to envision the possibilities where formerly we might have seen obstacles. And everything starts in imagination. Everything was at first a thought. And as Jamel said at the very beginning, everything is created twice, first in the mind, and then it manifests, then you create it, but it has to start in the mind first. And I think the imagination deals with the why and the what. Like, what is your why, and what is it that you want? And then the other faculties help with the how. But you have to determine what it is you want first, and you have to see beyond what the current circumstances are. You have to imagine something greater for yourself. And so really have to develop that. But that's the one that I think that's really the one that ignites everything. That's where everything really starts, with your imagination.
Mm.
I think, and the second part of the question was, which of the faculties do I feel is vital for me to help, or do I need to strengthen? I think that's my will, because the will is really important for staying disciplined and focused on the long-term objective. So once I decide what it is I want, then I have to use my will to stay focused, in spite of all the distractions that are happening and everything that's happening externally, because I have to operate from the inside out rather than the outside in, and not relying on my what I see necessarily, or what I'm hearing, but what I believe internally. So I think that for me, the imagination is the most important, the one that resonates with me the most, and the one that I feel I need to develop is my will.
That's good. I can go there. I was like, witches, it's it's like, but one that for me has been so important is the reason. The reason, in fact, because, you know, everything starts in this. in the thinking, like Paul says before, that you start to think, but the reason helped me to know to not to be a reacting person. And also because sometimes before, when I was younger, I am young, but that when I was younger, so I was always interpreting things that happen around. And instead of observing, now when is the reason, I can stop me and say, wait, wait a minute. Do I interpret this that is happening at the moment, or is just an observation? And the difference is that when I interpreted something that, something happened there, and then I said, oh, that that is not good for me. And it's a little bit more also in the perception part, but it's more like if for example, if two people were talking there and they look at me, my interpretation was that they were talking about me. I was observing people. So observing, I see two people talking and I observe them look at me. But my interpretation was that they were talking about me. And then I started to create something inside me. But the reasoning helped me to say, oh, there are two people there and they're talking and they're looking at me, but I don't need to go to interpret and start to creating using my imagination to create something that is not good. And also, I use a lot. I am a reflection person. I love sitting and reflect and ask me questions. Go deep in the reasoning, not just you know uh, reacting all the time for things. And also the one that I want to work also even more is the will, as Paul. And why is because my head is like, I don't know if in USA or in Canada have your popcorn in a bag that you put in the
Mm.
Yeah.
microwave.
Microwave popcorn.
Yeah, and then you were like, my brain is like that all the time, coming with ideas, and, oh, I should do this, I should do this. So when I learned to the mental faculties and the will, I said, oh, I need to focus in what I want to do. So now I keep a idea book or that I write my ideas and focus all the time. But it is the one that I want to be even better. Yeah.
Okay, so what I'm going to do, guys, I just want to give a refresher for those so they'll kind of understand what we're talking about. So last week we used this image as the mind, and we used this top half as the conscious mind, this bottom half as the subconscious mind, and the lower half is the body. So you notice the heart and the heart. So the top half is your thinking mind. This is where you can reason, accept or reject ideas. These are our five senses. As Jamel had mentioned, all our pets have five senses. So what separates us, what makes us humans, is our mental faculties, which are located in our thinking mind. Okay, so this thinking mind is like our creative workshop. This is where we build ideas and dreams. This is where we execute them. So when we have our mental faculties of imagination, the will, perception, reason, intuition, and memory, those are our tools. Just like in a workshop, you have a hammer, a saw, a screwdriver. So what it does is it directs, we mentioned last week that there is a power. I said to envision like we were all plugged into a power source. Living and breathing, you are plugged into this power source. And I use the analogy of it being like electricity. The power is just the power. It just is, just like electricity. But you can use that electricity to cook a meal or cook a person. It doesn't matter to the electricity. But these mental tools that we use in our creative workshop, we get to direct that flow of energy. So using the imagination, we get to create ideas because in order to change things, you must come up with in order to change the way you think, you must come up with a new idea. And that's where it's all created in this workshop. So we create the idea, plant the subconscious mind. This is the knowing part of our mind. This is the doing part of our mind. This part executes through the body. And this is why we behave the way we do through habits and whatnot. But this is 95% unconscious. We're doing things unconsciously. So for me, gosh, I really lean in. I mean, everyone is important, right? Every tool is important. It's just what tool do you need at any particular moment? And for me, I love perception. Oh my gosh, I love perception because I realize if I take a situation and just flip it, my whole vibration will shift. My attitude shifts, right? So for me, again, everyone is important. The imagination is a miraculous gift. Everything starts with imagination. Reasoning is our ability to think, and thought is the preamble to everything. So each one of these faculties are play upon one another. They're very important, but I really do love perception, and I love helping people shift their perception on anything. It's really it's a lot of fun because you can feel the shift immediately. That's the fun part about that. And I think, like my colleagues, the will is one that always being aware of. I'm always being aware of where am I guiding that energy? Where am I directing that flow of energy, that flow of thoughts? Where am I directing it? Am I directing it to the life that I want to live and I am present and enjoying the journey? Or am I being distracted by all the outside noise that is constantly pulling at me? Because trust me, that's what all the social media and media is doing. They are fighting for your attention. But I now know that I have the ability to drown that out, say no thank you, and direct my thoughts to what it is that I want in my life. Jamel.
Yeah, Lou, thank you so much for sharing that, for explaining that a little further for everyone to understand. What I rely on the most is probably, a fan favorite, the imagination, like most of us shared. It's so important because tapping into the imagination, you're allowed to go anytime, any place, anywhere with your imagination. And Bob Proctor always shared how we used to use our imagination so much as children, and I remember my sister and we would, make these fake tents because we didn't camp outside, but we made tents in the living room with old sheets, or we would go in the linen closet, pull out sheets. I remember my mom used to hate that because she had to fold them again. But we would do that for hours, and pretend that we were on another planet, in other countries. And we had these big imaginations and make like entire movies out of it. And as you're getting older or more seasoned, We tend to forget about our imagination. We go to work, go to college, go to school, and it becomes underdeveloped. So when I think about imagination more, that's something I rely on every day because it allows me to realign with my higher self. So I imagine myself being in the wish fulfilled as often as possible because without my imagination, I'm unable to tap into something I can't see. Right. So, but imagination is a double edged sword. A lot of times we're talking about positive side of it, but a lot of people use the imagination in a negative way. They imagine the things they don't want, and they imagine things that's doubt and worry. We can talk about the law of polarity, right? But, you know, some people use the imagination in a way that doesn't serve them to the greater good or what they really want. So we're talking about using your imagination in a positive way. So that's what I rely on. I love to visualize, and visualization or visioneering is connected with. You need imagination to do that, right? So I could I meditate a lot, so I can sit there, you know. I think the longest I meditated was a half an hour. I can sit in that energy and see a lot of movement where I'm going with my life and imagine myself already there, and I rely on imagination, even with my eyes open on these calls. I imagine that people were helping. I imagine, a lot of things, I imagine a lot. Right. And this is all, for the betterment of everyone. So one thing I would need to improve, I would say, is probably the will and perception. They kind of perception for me, sometimes I go back to that old conditioning where you'll see something outside of yourself and you'll allow it to affect the inside, right? And that's us being vulnerable, like, talking about this, because sometimes we're not aware of, oh, that's the outside world affecting how I feel about that thing. And it's funny you bring up perception as well, because Bob always talked about that's good. Look at everything. There's goodness in everything, even the bad things, right? We're the only ones that dictate, oh, that's bad, or I can't stand that song, or I don't like that food, right? But at the same time, that's your perception of it. When you step out of it and you see the good in something, in everything, that's when you can shift your perception. So that's something that I'm working on to develop for myself, because sometimes I allow the outside to dictate how I see things. And the will is basically taking whatever I experience in imagination and visualization and carrying it with me throughout my days, all day, every day, until I go back to sleep, going back into that state again, because we're all creators. We're here to create our own futures. And this is why we're here, to help you create as well, you know? So yeah, great question. That was an awesome question. I'm glad we all kind of, talked about our experiences with them. Was there anyone else wanted to Lou?
Yeah, I just want to tap into, because it's funny how intuition, right? We all kind of just, and this is really, so we all, I was in a class yesterday and was talking about intuition, and someone had asked, well, how do you know when you're doing the right thing? And, because you always know, boom, you get that gut feeling when you're about to do something you know you shouldn't do. Right away, you get that gut feeling. And then what you do is your paradigm, your beliefs override it. So we are constantly being guided, but it's so faint.
Mm.
It's very faint, that feeling, but it's there. It's there, and we poo poo it away. So many times we are being directed and guided, right? Spirit is always guiding us, except again, we poo poo the ideas. We think we know better. Oh, that won't work. So, really, intuition is extremely powerful, but you have to tap into it and have faith that it is guiding you in the right direction, and then take action on that. And with memory, This is another thing, like we had mentioned, that you use it against yourself. You think about the times that maybe you failed or something didn't work out or somebody laughed at you, whatever it may be, right? Sometimes you fell down. But what I do at night is I train my memory to always look for the good. So at the end of the night, I look for all the wins I had during the day. So what I'm doing is I'm training my mind to always look for the good and look for the wins. But it takes effort to do this. And this is where the majority of people go, oh, no, thank you. No, thank you, because I was one of them, so I can say that. It takes effort to think. It takes effort to use these tools and guide your thoughts. So I really wanted to bring that up.
I want to say something about the intuition also, because, we are so busy being busy that we don't take the time to download everything what we have here on paper. And I normally say that we have like a spaghetti head, spaghetti is like, here, and then you are so full in your head that you don't let the intuition come in. And also I normally say that the intuition is, because sometimes I my client ask, yeah, but how do I know that is not my ego or is the intuition? Because the intuition will always want the best for you.
Mhm,
The ego wants only revenge or needs, or all this, or stop you from go bold. And sometimes people say, oh yeah, but my intuition says that I'm not doing that. And I ask, is that intuition or is fear?
Mhm.
Because fear will talk to you. Now I don't have my guys here because I'm not in my home. I'm in Stockholm. So these guys start to talk, and then we think that is the intuition, but it's the fear telling us, no, stay there. Why are you going to do that? No, but intuition will always want us well.
mhm,
So
mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah,
it's
thank you.
different. And for me, I connect a lot with intuition when I meditate. So yeah.
Yeah,
I
that's
also,
great. Oh, go
yeah,
ahead,
I
Paul.
also just wanted to add something. I really like that Jamel mentioned that, often we use our imagination on a default setting. So we imagine the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
So this is about developing these mental faculties to serve us. So your imagination, you can say, well, too often we think of the worst case scenario that this is going to happen. We don't think about, what could happen. There's two sides of the coin, but why people generally look at the negative side, the worst case scenario. And also the same thing with memory. Someone mentioned memory, and, memory, you don't have to be bound by the past, from the past mistakes. So you learn from those things, right? You learn from the past and you use those experiences as a foundation for your growth rather than regret. So really, these faculties can work against us, but that's why we're discussing them, to learn how to apply them in a positive way that will serve us. So thank you. I just wanted to add that.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. There's so many things we can talk so much about this because each mental faculty is so special. Alicia mentioned intuition. I always loved when Bob said, when we pray, we're talking to God, but when we receive a message, that's God talking to us, or spirit, or infinite intelligence, whatever you believe in. And you know, it's a mental muscle that becomes stronger the more you listen, right? It's always speaking, and when you listen to it, and one day, and then you listen to the next day, it almost gets louder, or it becomes clear. I need to do this. You and it's always good to act on that intuition, because sometimes you allow it, you get an idea, and then you just don't do it. I'll do it later. And then later it turns into at nighttime, you're probably tired, you got to cook, whatever, and then you don't do it. So intuition is always speaking, but do we have that conscious awareness of what it's saying? And then do we take the physical action of what it told us to do? You
Yeah.
know, so intuition, develops over time. And memory, not a lot of people talk about memory. Thanks, Paul, for bringing that up, because I remember Magic in Your Mind. They talked about memory so well in that program. And in that program, it gave me new insight on memory. It said something about remember every person's name you speak to and say their name and look at them. And it gave me a different type of energy. Memorize, because I used to be challenged at not remembering people's names. But I see the importance of it doing that. I remember doing that at our daughter's, she does like dance class on weekends. And I said every person's name, all the teachers, instructors there, and they just kind of had this look like he remembers me, and there's a connection there, right?
Mhm.
So, and then also with memory, remember all the great things you've done, all the positive things you achieved in your life, like big things, small things, it doesn't matter. That's your perception. And know when you really did something you didn't think you could do, you're tapping into that creative energy and that creative potential that you can utilize towards your higher version of yourself. They were teaching this. For instance, I remember getting a particular job at the time, fully remote, you know, and I was so happy to sit in a dining room and just work without having to go downtown in DC traffic every day. 2 hours of driving, almost 3 hours out of my day driving. So I saw this higher version of myself, and I just kept seeing it and seeing it, and that's visualization. And when I manifested that job working from home, I get up, I can get my tea, I'm using my memory of what I did, and I'm adapting it to other things in the present.
Right.
So you're using your memory, your mental faculty, to tap into it in a positive way instead of looking at all the negative things that happen. We all have stories, right? We can probably do a special on all of our history of things we faced, right? So I know you watching, you have your negative, but remember, there's good in everything. And I'm a strong believer that nothing happens to you, it happens for you. It makes you. And you having this higher awareness of yourself, you're learning to utilize what happened for you to your higher version. Yeah, I talked a lot there. Anybody want to jump in there with what I was sharing? Sorry.
I just want to go to also to the intuition again. I love intuition also, um, because sometimes we don't get ideas, but we get a sensation in our body. Just for people that can get ideas, that the sensation, and it's very very important to stop and think why I'm feeling at the moment, what is this sensation trying to tell me. Yeah, so the body talks different sometimes. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
wanted to touch upon, once again, going back to the imagination. Um, it really is quite interesting when we are children, how we are kind of encouraged to use our imagination, really to keep us out of our, yeah, right? Yeah, go play, whatever, go play with the pots and pans, whatever it was. So we were encouraged highly to use our imagination. And then when we started to go to school, it was Jamel, eyes up front. Paul, watch me. Alicia, listen to what I'm saying. Stop daydreaming. Stop looking out the window and listen to me, right? So little by little, we're trained to now start listening to others and stop using our imagination. And the older we got, now it became, well, stop fantasizing and let's get real, right? Let's get a job that pays real money and has real benefits, and stop fantasizing and stop daydreaming. So now we've been now conditioned to suppress that imagination. And it's a miraculous, powerful gift. Just like my colleagues were saying, but we use it against ourselves. We use it towards the negative. But understand that this was a process.
Hmm.
This was a process that was part of our programming. And usually I think it was Earl Nightingale, he said, usually around the age 30, around there, people really give up on their dreams and they settle. Well, maybe my parents were right. Maybe I should get a job with benefits. Maybe, that dream I had to be a musician or an artist is just not paying the bills. And most of us fall into that. But
Hmm.
it's the imagination also that will take us out of that and back to our purpose, tapping into what do we truly, truly love to do. And sometimes, I use, like, I love animals and I would love some way to work with animals, but I know there's no money in it. Right? So, but that I can still do what I love to do and then support the animals and all the volunteers and all the facilities by donating. So
Hmm.
what I'm doing, like with real estate, and I do it with this as well, but with real estate, we would contribute X amount of dollars to a certain cause that we really felt passionate about and connected to. So this gives your job, if you're not doing what you truly love, and it will change your perspective on your job. If you're earning a great income and whatnot, and you want to do something else, but it just doesn't pay the bills, do what you're doing, but with a new view, a new perspective on what you're doing. So you can support doing the other thing. Maybe you do it on the weekends. Maybe it's volunteering. Maybe you help children, whatever it is that you're passionate about, but it could be challenging to earn a living. Just shift your perspective on that.
I have before I have a person that we talk about her job, and she was like, "Oh, but I hate my job," and da 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 da. And I say, "Okay, but why you don't change?" "Oh, but this is so difficult." I said, "Then you need to change your perception about your job. You need to start to love your job, because if your perception is negative, and then you focus on that all the time, you know then you will always feel bad about that.
Mhm.
And for me, the perception, imagination, and uh, the perception and the imagination is very, very connected to, because if something happen, and the will, the focus, so something happen and you perceive that as negative,
Mhm.
then the imagination will take what you perceive and start to build that, you know
Mhm.
and then you will use your will to focus on the negative, or negative on, and suddenly you have and I don't know, in Sweden, we say that you have a chicken from a feather, you know so because the imagination started, and then you focus more and more on that, and then you will get the chicken from the feather. So
Uh-huh.
it is very, and is how we use the imagination against us. And I say fear and hope. Fear and hope is something that we create in the future, that we don't have any evidence that it will happen, but the emotions that the fear create is totally different from the hope. So while we are not having the evidence that something is happening in the future, why not imagine that we are getting something wrong, good, and so instead of fear. So it's yeah, how we can use your imagination in a right way that is for us.
Mhm.
Yeah, this is, yeah, we could do like so many parts with this because, these mental faculties are amazing and they're very important to understand. And while you two shared there, I'm gonna try and share this image here because it spoke a lot to me when Bob mentioned it. It's Albert Einstein. Let's see if it works. Are we able to see that, everybody? Looks like it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Great. So, this is Albert Einstein, the intuitive mind is a sacred gift and the rational mind is a faithful servant, right? So we have created a society that honors the servant and has forgotten the gift.
Mm.
It's so powerful. And this actually can be referred to all of our mental faculties, right? Because we kind of, relying on the rational mind, right? And how many times do we become irrational to tap into intuition? Right, and be a part of it, and also tap into our imagination. Some people are afraid to use their imaginations now. We're getting deep here because you became so conditioned not to use it anymore or as much as you used to. Now it feels kind of foreign. It's kind of like, oh, I have my left arm. I forgot. I haven't used my left arm in a while, right? It's there, right? So I really wanted to share that particular quote because we forgotten these gifts, and this is why we're here to kind of explain further the importance and the power of these gifts that we all have, and that you can work out again, right? Your left arm is still there, whatever non-dominant hand you use, right? It's still there. And this is you tapping into that consistency of using it. You might want to use it a little bit today, and then we'll use it for 10 more minutes tomorrow. And then you start increasing your reps. And then you become like this super fit person that uses your mental faculty every day, but yeah, let's get on to the next question. That was good. So which of the actually, here we go. How did learning, we kind of talked about this a little bit, but how did learning and applying your mental faculties, impact your life?
That's a great question. And I think they helped me in my life by empowering me to take control of my thoughts and actions, right? And by applying these faculties, you're able to align your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions with your goals. And that creates a life of intention. That creates a life of growth. That creates a life of fulfillment when you learn how to really, learn and apply them. Like for example, developing your reason. I mean, that helps you to set your clear goals. That helps you stay developed and avoid distractions. When you develop your intuition, your intuition alongside your reason, that enables you to make decisions which align with logic and your inner knowing, right? And your inner knowing. And that's really, really important because, too often we rely on our senses. That doesn't seem logical. We're talking about imagination. Well, you have to dismiss your imagination because that's not realistic. What is realistic? All the inventions that we see around us. I mean, that was someone's imagination at one time. That was a thought. And most often it was seen as illogical, right? At one time, the earth was considered flat, right? You're going to sail out and you're going to fall off the end. We couldn't fly. The Wright brothers were told by their dad, who was a minister, you can't fly. We're not meant to. Imagination, we talked a lot about that, and that helps you to think outside the box, and that helps you generate innovative solutions. Challenges. You look at challenges. The challenges you see become or their challenges become opportunities, right? And so your perception, we talked about perception as well, and that allows you to see difficulties from a growth perspective. So rather than looking at the, the negative side, the default side of things, and where, imagination, that's for kids and that's not realistic, you have to switch. You have to make a switch there, and really, you can see how these faculties are going to align in a positive way with your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions, and that they align with your goals. And so that's why it's really, really important. It really, really empowered me when I really, I knew those things sort of existed, but I really didn't know that, they were, I could really develop them, like muscles, right? I mean, Bob talks about them, they're mental muscles, and we've talked about them, they're mental muscles, and they all can be developed to our advantage to create the life that we really, really want and really deserve. So yeah, very, very powerful to learn about them and then learn how to apply them in a positive way. That was it for me.
Okay, I'll go. So yes, keyword empowered. So all the imagination, will, perception, memory, reason, intuition, they were just words to me. They were just words. I never gave them really the time of day. When I started to study, when I started to learn and understand about me, I started to understand everyone because we're all created the same. So I want you to think about this. We're all on our own hero's journey. These tools are going to help us on our own journey. Life is really just an experiment. And I've learned not to use mistakes, use the word mistakes. I've learned really not to have a story. They were just experiences. But the more I started to understand, because you must study this, don't just gather information, right? We're giving you information for you to apply to you. So now you can really take charge of your own life because it's your very own journey you're on. These are the tools to help you create the best journey that you're capable of during this time around, right? So learning and understanding these tools for me really empowered me. Again, they were just words. I didn't pay any attention to them. I was just going through the motions of life. But now I have such a deep understanding, and not just an understanding, a respect for the gifts that we have been given. Think about it. We were created here. You're going to Earth, right? Well, do I have no tools? Am I just winging it? No. I've already installed in you everything that you will need, but you must learn about these tools. And these tools will guide you, and I will be with you every step of the way. That's what I hear in my mind, right? So really, take to heart and really tap into these tools. Understand that they are the tools in your creative workshop. A workshop without tools is just a room, it's just space, right? So learn to use your imagination because it's the imagination that will get you unstuck right now. You have to create a new idea, and that's taking place in your workshop. And these are all the tools to help you develop and shape that idea so you can now take that seed and implant it in the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind executes through the body. This is the knowing, this is the doing. The body, this sets up the vibration. That's why you see a heart and a heart. This sets up the vibration for the body to take action. You are really, very powerful.
Yeah, for me, learning that it was it's like you in my face. So because this was more like I thought that I was a product of the circumstances.
Mhm.
But when I learned this, I say, oh no, Alicia, you are 100% responsibility for your life, but you are not using your mental faculties in the right way. You are using the perception totally different. It's like drinking poison and expecting that somebody else will die. You
Mhm.
know, it was me, my imagination. I was creating, all these stories that get me paralyzed. I was using the memory also in the right way. The will, I was like, oh, I should do this, or no, I should do this and this, all this. But when I started to work with this and learn this, I say, okay, you need to have the courage to assume 100% responsibility for your life. And it's not to blame or shame or feel guilty, but it's to say, okay, I have this gift that are given to me. How I'm using that? Are they giving more energy, or are using that in the wrong way? So for me, it was very good that decide that I'm going to assume 100% responsibility for my life, use this mental faculty, and knowing that my inner world will create my outer world. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I love this. I really do. Because we can talk forever about this. Um, yeah, this is beautiful. I was thinking about when I was first introduced to the, mental faculties. I was kind of like what Lou shared. I discredited, and I was like, okay, I'm just learning something about myself. They're just words that I've heard before, but as I started to like listen to it again, it was that repetition, you know, and I realized it was kind of like when I first understood the stick man. I became very grateful and gratitude because I was like, wow, this was here the whole time. And it was understanding. It was understanding who I am and how I'm connected to spirit. So it was very special for me once I started reading it more, studying it more, being open to it. Because at first I was just like, okay, it sounds good. Let me, learn a little bit more. But once I understood the imagination, that was the one that kind of pulled me into the other mental faculties to learn more about them. Because I was always, a fun kid that loves to use his imagination, and my little one appears here. That's a Christmas gift for everybody. Since Alicia hasn't shown any props, there's my prop that my real life prop here. I love you, sweetheart. But learning this material, I became very calm. Right there, she is. I became very calm learning it, but I also, you know, just gratitude because this is not just knowledge and material we're talking about. This is your gift to create whatever you want in your life, and once you understand it, create whatever positive things you want in your life, right? Why would you want to create something negative? We don't want to feel bad every day. We don't want bad things to happen to us every day, So create whatever you want with this. And as I start to understand it more and more, I said, this is gold. I've been wishing for this material my whole life. And when I received it. It clicked. I was like, thank you, Bob. Thank you, God. Thank you, Spirit. So I use it to this day, and I'm using it now, you know. And what's special that DP Gates shared on the live stream, well, you don't change in yourself, you pass on to your kids and your family. And, you know, learning more about these mental faculties, she'll know more about her imagination. We use affirmations. She says, I'm powerful. You know, I'm grateful. She's developing her mind early about these things I had no idea about. You know, I had an idea, but not at this level now where I'm at, you know. So, like I said, we can talk forever about the mental faculties, but you can tell the importance of them, right? Yeah. Did anybody else want to add on to that?
What I want to say is that knowing that we have the mental faculties and not using that is like knowing that you have a car and you are going to travel to some places and you decide to walk. You know, it's like you have your car, you can drive and go there fast, but you decide to walk. That is.
That's
I
great.
wanted to touch upon you said two magical words, Jamel. Calm. Once you understand how your mind works, right? You have calmness of mind. And I think it was on As a Man Thinketh in the Serenity Prayer, where it says, calmness of mind is one of the greatest jewels of wisdom. Right? The other word you said was appreciation and gratitude. I have such a deep, deep appreciation for life now. Like I've never before. I thought it was just about the getting and whatever. I have such a deep appreciation for my life, for the squirrels, for the trees, for my family, for my friends, for my colleagues, for every human, because I truly now, I believe, I understand that we are all on our own journey. We are all here to experiment. And then one day it'll be over, right? So when you realize the cheapest, I had this opportunity while I was here to really make the best of it. What have I been doing? So let's not wait till that moment, and let's really ask ourselves, what do I want? How do I want to live? How do I want to love? How do I want to show up in life? What kind of a friend do I want to be? What kind of a parent do I want to be? What kind of a partner do I want to be? What kind of a mentor do I want to be? What kind of a person in society? How do I want to show up? Who do I want to be? And then start acting and being that person. That's what I wanted to end this call with from me.
Wow, that was beautiful, Lou. Thank you so much for sharing that.
I was laughing when you talk about calm, because when I was younger, there were many plates that flied and broke, many apples that, I was so reactive, like, throwing away everything. So reactive. So is I am a totally other person now.
Yeah.
And I also call me the gratitude activist.
I like that title.
Gratitude activist and reflection activist.
I love that title. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what Alicia is referring to is she's no longer letting the outside affect the inside.
No.
Yeah.
No.
She's it's inside out, not outside
Yeah.
in.
No.
Right? Yeah. We are a little over time, but do y'all want to do the last question just real quick to help out here before we had one more question? I guess we can do a quick response on it. It's a great question, For across the board here, which faculty do you believe is most pivotal in the pursuit of personal and professional growth?
I can say what I think is imagination, because it's the pivotal, how we everything starting. I think at the beginning, Paul say that, and Lou say also, everything starting with the imagination. What we are imagining something, and we can imagine good things and we can imagine bad things, but everything started with the imagination, I think, for me.
Same here.
Yeah, that's great, Alicia. Myself also, I think the imagination. I mean, I think it's the most um, pivotal as because it's the foundation for envisioning
Yeah.
possibilities beyond our current limitations, right? It's the catalyst that ignites the process of growth. And I think I said this at the beginning, it provides the why and the what, while the other faculties really help with the how. But you have to determine what your why is and what it is you want. So I believe it's the imagination.
Yeah, and I have to agree. The imagination, if you want to start to shift the way you think, you need to get a new idea.
Mm.
So now you're instead of those dominant thoughts, I wish I could, oh, only they can do it, I don't have this, and blah, 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 blah. You need a new idea. That new idea starts with your imagination. So I would agree, the imagination. Although they're all powerful, but I do think it's the imagination that gets the process and gets the other tools, working
Yeah.
towards the new idea.
Yeah, we're unanimous, imagination across the board. I believe and agree, it's a starting point, right? And when you tap into your imagination, you're not allowing your current circumstances to dictate what you're imagining. So that's the starting point. And usually what you imagine, well, what you should imagine is something of a higher level, whether it's more money, a better job, or any material thing, a house, or travel more time with your family, whatever you want to manifest that you don't have in your current state, it's there in another form, and Bob always talked about how energy is never created or destroyed, and thoughts are energy. In imagination, you're thinking about something in a different place. So it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It's just in a different form. And I always loved his quote where he says, if you can see it in your mind, you can hold it in your hand. And all you're doing is using these mental faculties we talked about in great detail. You're using them to create whatever you want in your physical plane. And we do this every day. And we want to help you with this material. It's not just you hearing information. You want to walk it and experience it and have it in your subconscious and every atom in your body. But when you really start to use it more, repetition, like I said earlier, you're overriding your old self, that limited self, believing that, oh, I can't do that. Your imagination is very, very powerful. Like Lou shared, we're extremely special individuals. What's the saying? We're spiritual beings having a human experience or something like that, right?
Yeah,
Help me
that's
out
right.
there.
Yeah.
So, this has been a great, Coach's Corner. I'm always grateful for everybody. Thank you, all those that joined live. But again, this is just 1 hour of this. Imagine where you can go with this material in your life. And we all want to help you. Contact any of us that you resonate with. Our call links are there. You can message us. Even during the holidays, we want to get to know you and know where you're going. That's most important, right? Where are you going in your life and what do you really want? Why not start now?
I just want to say, tell your old beliefs that there is a new sheriff in town. Okay? There's a new sheriff in town. So you're going to tell your all your old beliefs and your habits, but you have to create that sheriff and let it know. New sheriff in town. There's going to be different changes, different results.
You got that right. You got that right, Lou. And to close here, Alicia, did you have any props you want to share that make the tradition?
I am not at home today.
Okay.
I am
All right.
in Stockholm. So my daughter is turning 30, so she's in Paris, and I taking care of the dog. So I have everything in my house.
Oh, and
But we're not starting a new year, so
there we go. I knew you had something over there.
so for the new year, you need to decide that you are going to use your gifts to you, that the gifts that you have already inside you.
Yeah.
So,
Open these gifts.
yeah,
Open these gifts.
yeah. So then you get a happy new year.
Thank you, Elisa. I knew you had something over there.
Jamel, are we going to put an exercise? Each of us can put it in our Facebook underneath the recording.
Yes, thanks for reminding me. We're going to put an exercise in the comment section of this post, this replay. And this is for you to apply this material that we talked about today to your life, right? Do the exercise. It's fun, it's easy, and get in contact with us, after you do the exercise to really tap in a little bit more and connect more. And before I forget, speaking of celebrating, let's celebrate life and wish Lou a happy birthday.
Oh,
Happy birthday, Lou.
so much.
Birthday.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you.
Yeah.
You all are a gift to me. So I appreciate all of you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Awesome call. Bye, everybody. Till next time.
Bye.
Happy holidays. Merry
Happy
Christmas. Are we
holidays.
Yeah,
going to be
Merry
here
Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
We'll be here next Sunday?
Most likely.
Most likely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sunday, 10 a.m. Eastern.
Okay.
Bye, everyone.
Okay.
Thank
Merry
you so much
Christmas.
for being here.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Happy holidays.